I am currently a multimedia journalist at WUSA 9. I did my undergrad at the University of Maryland College Park because I'm originally from Maryland, from Prince George's County. And I'm finishing up my master's program at Georgetown next semester. So I started off really in the beginning when I was doing my undergrad. I was in the DMV area, so I thought that I just wanted to go into the federal government. I was like, I'll just do some corporate like communications work, and that's what most of my internships were in, like communications offices and PR offices. And then I got my first journalism experience at an internship at ABC News in Washington, D.C. And that's pretty much, that opened my eyes to like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the course of communications I want to take. So I started off as an intern, and as an intern, you know, it's a lot of the grungy work, doing the overnights and staying really late and working 7 days a week and for little to no pay in the beginning. But it was an invaluable experience. I mean, I learned so much. And after my internship, I got brought on as a full-time desk assistant, which in journalism, the assignment desk is like the hub of the newsroom. The people at the assignment desk, they're the ones that are calling police PIOs or calling, just figuring out what the news is of today. And they normally assign reporters what's happening and what their stories will be for that day. So I was a desk assistant. And then after my time as a desk assistant, I became a production associate, in which I worked with Good Morning America, World News Tonight, ABC News Sunday Show This Week. And I also did some writing for their digital platforms as well. And then also I ended up kind of going into this regional producer role at ABC, and that was pretty fun. But I decided it was time for me to take the next step in my career, and I pursued some more opportunities because I knew that I wanted to focus on video journalism and digital writing. So I sort of transitioned into my position at WUSA 9, and now I'm creating original work, enterprise stories. I'm going out, I'm shooting my own work, producing it, writing it, editing it, and it's mostly for our online platforms and digital platforms, but majority of the time it ends up on air. So yeah, I love what I do, and I think as a journalist, what I love the most is meeting new people and being able to tell stories that are oftentimes like misrepresented or underrepresented, and being able to give platform to people whose voices need to be heard. So that's where I'm at right now in my career, and it's really been a journey. Oftentimes I'm like the youngest person on the team, the youngest person in discussions when we're talking about what's newsworthy and how to use certain videos, which has come up a lot recently with police shooting videos and things like that. Not just the youngest person, but a lot of times the only Black woman on the team as well. So there are many different things that I've had to navigate in this career, but honestly, like, I feel like if I weren't there, then who would be there to help make these sort of editorial decisions? And so I'm really, really happy with where I've been able to lend my voice to in certain situations. And that's pretty much like my life goal. It's like to be able to elevate conversations about race, about gender, being able to be at in certain discussions and letting people know, like, you know, this is racially insensitive. This is actually not just racially insensitive. This is racist. This is sexist. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. So, any questions?
Don't be shy, you guys.
Good morning. My name is Kara.
Kara.
You mentioned that most of the time you're the youngest and even the only Black woman in the thing. I kind of on the other side of that track. I'm like the oldest.
Mhm.
So transitioning from the desk assistant to where you are now, did you have to take extra courses to learn how to shoot your own, or did you learn that along the path?
Um, hmm. Well, I had to be very vocal about getting the training that I needed and wanted in order to transition into new things that I knew I wanted to do. But then also there was a lot of sacrifice involved, having to stay late, volunteering for extra shifts and things like that. Um, but I did my undergrad in journalism, so I had that experience under my belt. But that I had to learn along the way, and being it's more so like advocating for yourself, like you know where you want to be, and you might know some of the things that it's going to take to get there. And a lot of times, what from I've learned is that people don't know what you want until you tell them. So often, like I had to really advocate for myself. Like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to learn. How can I learn this? And a lot of times I did get a no, and, just focus on what your actual job is. And, but I just kept pushing until I found a yes, and also taking the initiative to do the things that I could do on my own. And then showing them that I had, like I said, the initiative and the interest, and then them seeing that I was very motivated. And so them kind of trusting me with the smaller things. And then as I proved that I could do those small things, they sort of gave me a little bit more rope to do the bigger things, like going out and shooting things by myself and editing and stuff. Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
What part of PG County are you from? I'm from Bowie. Yep. What part of PG County are you from?
Blainsburg.
Okay. I know where that is. I know exactly where that is. Nice.
What are 3 essential skills that you think students need to have, communication students need to have coming out of college?
Writing is so important. You can get any job if you know how to write. And the reality of it is that a lot of people don't know how to write. They don't know how to take information and then pick out the most pertinent parts of that and make it into something that people can digest. So I would say that's the most important thing, knowing how to write. I mean, even if you're interested in like corporate communications, television, print, magazine, you have to learn how to write. And then secondly, I would say knowing how to pivot. So in communications, I mean, things are changing all the time. Platforms are changing. It's just there are, and specifically in journalism, you might be assigned to something to do that day, and then something happens, something breaks, and then all of a sudden, the story that you've been working on for the whole day has changed. And so learning how to go from one thing to the next, and then adapting to it quickly, that's a good skill to have as well. The third thing, I would say this probably be like not necessarily a learned skill, but just something innate. Like it has to be your drive and you as a person, because things are going to get difficult in journalism. I mean, it's a really dog-eat-dog world out there. And I'm sure in other communications fields, like it's competitive. So making sure that you pick a career field that you can see yourself sacrificing for, because I just spent since the first time I started working, I spent the first Thanksgiving with my family last year. I missed every single holiday. And a lot of times, like the work-life balance, there is no balance really, but I rest easy on the fact that I love what I do and I'm passionate about what I do. And so when things get hard and I feel tired, like I learned to rest and not quit. And then I gather up myself and I'm like, all right, well, this is what you said you want to do, right? And we have this running joke all the time. People ask you like on a hard day, like, oh, how are you? And our responses are always like, living the dream, because this is what you asked for. This is what you've been studying for. This is what you want. And so when you come across things where you feel like I can't do this anymore, you just have to like fall back on the fact that like you went to school for this. So.
Good morning. My name is Raven. How are you doing?
Hey, Raven.
So I guess my question is like, so you said you're a journalist, because my computer be like breaking up.
Yeah, I'm a journalist.
So like, how do you, like, let's say you're going into the story and you just find out that it is boring. It is just like nothing's there, but I guess maybe it might be an assignment. So it's like you got to get it done. So how do you, like, I guess, make a story interesting when it's not interesting?
Yeah, that happens a lot because sometimes, most times you do get assigned. So they have, well, at my station at least, we have 2 to 3 different hands-on meetings a day where everyone gathers, the producers, the executive producers, the reporters, everybody gathers and they pitch their stories for the day. So you might go in there and have 3 really interesting stories that you feel are important, but especially, and this happens a lot in local news, but an hour ago, there was a break-in at a nearby 7-Eleven, and it's local news, and that's what's important to the audience, and so they need someone to cover it. But you pitched a really good story that you feel like you want to do. This is what I'm talking about, the pivoting. Pivoting from what you feel like is important to what needs to be done because of audience reasons and what the audience thinks is important. But in order to make it interesting, you would just have to find it for yourself. Like, if you can find any little piece in that story, because if you think it's boring, then other people are going to think it's boring too. So if you can find anything in that story, whether it be someone you interview or if it connects to a happening, that a story that has already happened. So for instance, if there was like, you had to cover a tractor trailer crash on the highway, we have to cover those things all the time because people really care about traffic in local news. You could then look at other stories and find different trends. So how many tractor trailer crashes have there been this month? And is this related in any way to COVID and not being as much traffic on the road? And now people are getting back and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to drive anymore. Like, you can find different trends to add to your story that can make it a little bit more interesting. And to be frank, there are some stories that are a little just dull, that are just blah. But yeah, if you can start looking at things like that to try to spruce it up a little bit. No problem, Raven.
How have you branded yourself? We spent the first few weeks of the course just talking about your personal brand and how your digital footprint, that's kind of like the first impression when someone sees your resume for an internship, they're going straight online to look for you. Like, how did you manage that when you were either in between jobs or kind of looking? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for me, some people have separate social accounts. They'll have their professional social account and then they'll have their personal social account. So for me, I knew from the very beginning that I didn't want to manage 2 different accounts. So I was like, well, as long as I'm not posting anything that I wouldn't want people to see on my personal account, then it really wouldn't matter if I meshed the 2. And honestly, I feel like employers sort of want that, because if they're looking you up online, they want to see you, like who you are as a person, and they don't want to see like a polished, I only tweet about this, I only tweet about that type thing. That being said, you still do have to watch what you tweet and watch what you post and things like that. But my motto is like, if I don't want my mom seeing it, then I'm not posting it. So, and then also like, if I'm applying for a job and I feel like once I send my application, I have to delete posts or I have to put my profile on private, then I know that I probably should not be posting it. But yeah, it is, she's correct. Like, people do search you up as soon as you apply because they want to see the type of person that you are. So you want to just make sure that you're always putting forth your best self. And sometimes having no digital footprint can also hinder you as well, because we live in such a a digital world. And if you're going into communications, there's a good chance in which you might have to deal with social media or other social platforms. So if you're going in for an interview and they're like, yeah, so which sites are you active on? You're like, well, I'm really not active on this, and putting you up against a candidate who has experience in that field, that may be a little bit of a disadvantage, depending on the job, of course. But yeah, I think that having a good digital footprint is crucial.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you can hear me. Sorry.
Yes.
My name is Diana Harris. So with everything going on with like the Black Lives Matter movement and like everything that happened within the past couple of days with like Breonna Taylor and everything like that, and I know that you stated that like in the newsroom you're basically the only Black woman. How do you manage like your emotions about the injustice that we as Black women face while also being a professional and still doing your job?
Yeah. I think, that's been a huge discussion. And this is the way in which I think journalism is shifting. A lot of people were very hesitant about, a lot of journalists were very hesitant about posting Black Lives Matter or even tweeting Black Lives Matter because of the assumption that it means that you're for everything that the Black Lives Matter organization or other people who just claim they're under that organization do, such as looting or rioting or things like that. And so a lot of journalists were like, well, I'm not going to tweet Black Lives Matter because I don't want to be seen as biased or whatever. But honestly, saying Black Lives Matter is just a fact. Unfortunately, it's been made into this huge political statement, but Black lives do matter. So saying that and tweeting that and posting that, like, I feel like that's okay. And Black Lives Matter, the organization, the organization is what you might have to tiptoe around as far as saying that, you're a part of this organization or whatever the case may be, because of if you're worried about being biased. But I do think that journalism and journalists are changed. I'll get on that. But I do think that journalism and journalists are changing, in which the antiquated idea of you cannot say these certain types of things is getting old. I think a lot of people have been hesitant about even calling certain things that the president has said as racist. They'll just say racially insensitive or things like that. And I think that it's important that we call a thing and we call it what it is. And it's not saying that you're against Trump or whatever, but if he said something that is racist, it's racist. If you believe Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. It is what it is. It's hard to navigate through as far as the certain things that you post online, but I think that it is definitely safe to say like Black Lives Matter online. And then more to your question about having to cover these types of things constantly as a Black person, it does get emotionally, it's hard. And then also having to be the advocate for having to be made to feel like you're the advocate for the entire race when you're in these spaces and it's only you, that's also tiring as well. However, it has to be done. Somebody has to do it. And I sort of take pride in that, like, if there's going to be somebody, like, I'd rather it be me. There are some people who feel like they don't want to deal with it at all, like it's just too much. But for me, it's like, I'm fine with doing that. I shouldn't have to, but I'm fine with doing that. Does that answer your question? I feel like I kind of talked in circles.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me see this. The chat from Jakayla. Do you ever have to interact with negative people in the workplace? How do you deal with them? Yes. Me either. Yeah. Okay. All the time. What is it called? Workplace politics. I feel like that's with any career. But there are going to be people that you have to deal with that you might not particularly like, or someone that says something that you aren't too fond of. But I would say being a young person in the newsroom, I found myself really having to use my voice, because if not, they'll sort of silence me a bit, because they're like, oh, you're too young, you don't know what you're doing, da 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 da. But or you're not old enough to have an opinion about this or that. But yeah, I found it really, really helpful to use my voice, and it was scary in the beginning because I'm like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but it's better to allow people to see you for your expertise and for the person that you are rather than your age. And you find that a lot of times older people, I mean, they speak their minds and they let you know how they're feeling. And as long as you're doing it in a way that is respectful and that allows people to understand what you're saying, I think you'll be fine. But yeah, there's always going to be somebody that you may not get along with 100% of the time. Working in news, it's a teamwork thing. Literally, if you're working at a network, that's what network means. You're working with a network of people to get a story done. So you're going to come across those moments. But the thing is like, a lot of times it's never personal. It's about them and how they're feeling. And once you get that through your mind, it's like, oh, this actually has nothing to do with me. Like, she's just the way that she is. So yeah. Thanks, Jakayla.
So like you said, like a lot of times being like the youngest Black female, I guess you're not taken like seriously or like as seriously. So when you first got to your job, like what did you just kept having an opinion about something, or like what did you do so they can finally be like, okay, JC, let me listen to what you got to say, and then you were able to get your promotions? Because then sometimes like every job environment isn't like that, and because I feel like sometimes, I don't know, because sometimes in my job, but I work in security, so it's a little different. But it's like if you take the initiative, someone feels like they're being stepped on. So how do you like know when is the appropriate times to take your initiative? That's my question.
Yeah, I think this varies per person and the type of personality that you have. For me, I am not just young, I look young. So people think I'm even younger than what I actually am. So some of the tricks that I've used is the way in which I present myself. So I know that some older people have a stereotype of what young folks dress like. So I find myself compensating in that way. So I'll change the way that I dress, or like even the way that I wear my hair. And when it comes to speaking up, I try to make sure that the things that I say, I mean them and I've thought about them 100%. So they know that when I do step up and I say something, it's because I've thought through it. I'm not just yapping. I'm not just, talking all the time. And so I think that that's just my personality type anyway. So they know that if I do speak up, they should listen because it has meaning to it and depth to it, and I've thought about it. Those are the tricks that I've sort of used. Along with that, not really divulging too much of my personal as well, and just keeping it very professional with my coworkers, because a lot of times they try to add you on Facebook, Instagram, your coworkers and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't really need you to know all my business, So I do that as well. But yeah, it's something that you're going to kind of figure out as you continue to move on. And honestly, a lot of things that I figured out have been because I've messed up on it in the beginning. So when I remember I first got my internship, I was still living with my parents, and they had a position open. It was between me and another girl, but she was from out of state and I'm in the DMV, so I was working in DC. And I was just telling her my business. I'm like, yeah, I just graduated, live with my mom, da 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 da. So when it was time to hire someone, which was this new position had a higher salary, the other girl got it because she said, well, JC still lives at home with her parents. I'm from out of state. I'm paying DC rent. You know, I need the money more than she does. And I shot myself in the foot because I told her all my business that I was living with my parents, I was saving my money, I was doing, you know, all this other stuff. So things like that happen. And from that experience, I've learned that, okay, there are certain things that I need to keep to myself. If anybody asks, I'm broke. I need every raise. I need every penny. So yeah, that was a lesson that I had to learn. So as you continue in your career, you're going to make mistakes, but the key is to learn from them and then just never make them again. You're welcome. Anyone else?
Can you describe a typical day in the life of digital media producer, journalists? Can you kind of just walk us through kind of what your day is like? And also like your research process for finding story ideas, that type of thing.
Yeah, so a lot of it is social listening. Being plugged into the right communities on social media. And I mean, it depends on like where you're working. So I'm at a local station. So for me, I know a lot of people, they care about their follower count ratio versus who they follow. I follow everybody. I don't care if you're following me, if you're not, this is on Twitter. I follow everyone because you could be tweeting about something that could be interesting and I need to know what you're talking about. So that's one. And then also just kind of taking national stories and making them local. So if we're talking of the national story is COVID, reaching out to different, like if I know that certain nursing homes are being affected by COVID, reaching out to different nursing homes. If I know that there's a particular area in Maryland that's struggling with COVID more than any other place, like going to that place and seeing who I can speak to. So a lot of it is social listening, but the other part of it is actually getting out and doing stuff. During COVID, that has definitely changed. Some of my interviews have been on Zoom, just like I'm talking to you guys, or on the phone, having to find creative ways to make stories like that look interesting. And that's definitely been a challenge as far as the quality portion of creating videos and stories and things like that. But normally it's a mix of social listening and then actually getting out and into the field and, you know, kind of surveying and looking around. What my normal day looks like. So my schedule varies so much. Some days I'm working from 2:30 to 2:30 p.m. to 12 at night. Some days I'm working from 7:30 a.m. to 4. It really just depends on the news cycle. So having to be flexible in that. And but generally there's a meeting in the morning and we talk about what broke overnight, what are the stories for today, did we see anything on social media, do we have anything we need to cover like pressers and things like that. And from there, we'll kind of pitch what we think is important for the day. So it's a lot of editorial decision making. One of the things that we kind of go back and forth as a newsroom is like who actually gets to decide what's newsworthy. Is it the journalists because we're coming forth with all of these ideas and stories that we've found, or is it the audience because we got to make the money and we have to cater to what the audience wants to see as well? Or is it sort of the management who's kind of doing a trickle down of, well, this is where our brand is and this is what we want to cover and that sort of thing. So there is always sort of like a back and forth of like, well, this is important today, this is, and we kind of have to meet in the middle in terms of that. So we talk about those things, and then after that, we assign. And then there are certain deadlines that we have to meet because in local news, we're on literally all day. We have in the during the day and in the evening, we have a 5, 5:36, 7, and 11. So there are many people who are coming together to create content for every single show. And we start assigning people to that. And then there are days, we have these things called HFR days, which are, it's called a hold for release. So there are days where I get to get out of the regular mix and I just work on stories that I want to work on, those enterprise type stories that I found, and I'll be out all day just doing that. So it's something new every day, and new topics, new people, breaking news, which kind of gets you on your toes because you have to meet certain deadlines. And then there are certain things where you can spend a little bit more time on, like 2 or 3 days if you really want to flesh it out. And then we have investigations as well. And sometimes those take 2 weeks to a month. So it's a variety of things.
Awesome, thank you. Social analytics, you mentioned social listening. So which tools are you using, and then how does analytics play a role in any of your content day to day?
Yes. For instance, so when we were covering the World Series, we were looking for different breakout stories to do, and we found that by using Google Analytics. So we literally just looked to see what people were researching, what they were looking up, and then there was a random spike in I always mess up his last name, Max Scherzer's eyes. And people were Googling, why does he have 2 different color eyes? And we wouldn't have written about it, but people wanted to know. So we fulfilled that need. And we wrote a whole breakout story about the condition that he has. And he has like 1 green eye, 1 blue eye. And there are many other people that have this too. He actually has a dog that has 1 green eye, 1 blue eye too. And it's sort of like his thing. So we wrote about that. But yeah, so we used Google Analytics to write that story. And that was one of our top stories from the World Series. And it had nothing to do directly with baseball and the game, but it was just this interesting tidbit that people wanted to know. And that's why sometimes when you see stories, especially like for debate nights or for any night where there's a huge event, the title of the story will literally be, what time is the game? Or what time is the event? Because that's what people are Googling. So we know that if we make that the title, it'll put us higher in the Google search, and then people will find our story before they find other people's stories. So we focus a lot on headlines. We focus a lot on SEO, search engine optimization, and we try to make sure that we're in line with what people are looking for. And then of course we use Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, everything. For us, the way that the views count for us, like we count YouTube when we count our website, as far as how our rankings for comparing us to other stations. And we used to count Facebook, but we don't count Facebook anymore. But we still use Facebook to push out our stories so that people can actually click on the story and go to our site. But we used to count Facebook views on the videos and stuff like that, but we don't count anymore. So we count YouTube, which I'm in charge of our YouTube platform. So I'm streaming every single video that we have, and every video that we ever publish, I'm the one that's putting that on our YouTube. And since I've been in charge of that, our YouTube viewership has grown like 260-something%. So a lot of our stories have gotten into like thousands of views, more views than we would have on television. So that's why we've been prioritizing our digital platforms more, because we get to reach more people. Because on TV, we have a certain DMA where our channel only airs in certain areas, but on the internet, we can reach anybody.
That's fantastic. I teach a social media class, so I'm bringing you in to talk about YouTube strategy. We're going to talk offline about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Does anyone have any more questions?
Jasmine Johnson, what's the most rewarding part of your job? The most rewarding part is being able to tell stories, or being able to elevate other people's voices who otherwise would not have had a huge platform. I love that. I think that there's just a lot of the time, not a lot, but sometimes in journalism, stories get misrepresented depending on who's telling it. And I think that there's a general distrust between the community and between media. And a lot of that just comes from not understanding what communities are going through, and then sending in someone to the community who is writing a story and they just don't get it. And they end up writing a story that is offensive or that's not complete or total. So for me, majority of my stories center around Black people. And I do that purposefully because that's the reason why I got into journalism in the first place, because I saw that there were just stories that I was like, that doesn't make sense, and this isn't my experience. And, and knowing at the same time that like being Black is not a monolithic experience, but seeing in all these journalists that are not of color covering stories that I just felt like could be done better. And that was like my catalyst for going into journalism, because I wanted to step into that void. So yeah, like I remember when I was at my old job, I was told that like, you pitch too many Black stories. Someone literally told me that. And I was a little discouraged in the beginning because I was like, well, that's why I'm here. Like, why do you think I came? And then I also just thought about, like, no one ever tells a white person that they pitch too many white stories. And so for me, I just use that as more gusto, like more steam, because I was like, well, if you're noticing this, then that means I'm doing my job right. Because in the very beginning, I chose the type of journalist that I wanted to be. I wanted to write about things in my community. And people say that that's a Black story or that's just a Black story, but honestly, it's not. It's an American story. And there are other people that can relate to it as well. So that's what I try to use my platform to do when I'm seeking out stories, enterprise stories, when I'm not like assigned a story. When I'm seeking out a story, those are the type of stories that I seek.
So when they told you that it was too Black, did you like, okay, I'm gonna look for another job, and but like in the meantime, in between time, like how did you stay there? But you said that was your old job, so that's my only thing. Because I've just been like, I need to find a new job because clearly I can't express myself creatively like I want to in this platform.
But that's what they expect you to do as a Black woman. They expect you to bow out. And that's when you stand up and you don't bow out.
Yes, I agree with Karen.
I've worked in white male America all my life, and that's what they expect you to do. Put your tail between your legs and run.
So you're just supposed to take it sometimes?
No, you're supposed to come back with an intelligent comeback like she did.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make it make sense. Like, and honestly, how old was I? I was 20. And I in the beginning, I felt very defeated. I felt like, wow, like I kind of felt like in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I want to pitch any more stories because I don't want to lose my job. Am I going to lose my job? Too many Black stories. Like all of those things came through my head. It did. And that's why I feel like it's important to have mentors and people that you can go to talk about your situations and stuff like that. So I went to my mentor and I let her know what was happening. She advised me, one, tell HR. Two, two, to stand my ground, like Kara said, and the work that I would do would show how important these stories are. Because the fact of the matter is that stories about race and gender are wildly popular. Those are the stories that people read. And now that we've had all of these police shootings, we see news organizations like CNN and Washington Post and everybody creating specific verticals for people to focus mainly on race, gender, and ethnicity. So now, like, that's a hot topic to talk about. And now they're kind of searching for people who have expertise in this area because this is what our audience they want to know about. This is what they're searching. This is what they're tweeting about and everything like that. So yeah, it's definitely, it was hard and I was discouraged in the beginning. And that was mostly due to inexperience and thinking I was going to get fired and all of the other things that come with being one of the only Black people in the newsroom. But now that I am more mature and I have a little bit more confidence in myself, there are just certain things I don't stand for. it's just not acceptable to me. And I find a way to articulate that in a respectful way, but I make sure that I articulate that because, yeah, I'm not for being silenced. And there may be consequences to that. A lot of times there are, but like I said in the beginning, you really kind of have to choose the type of journalist you want to be. It's not going to be easy, and you're going to get pushback on a lot of things, but it's a choice, it's a decision. And do you have any recommendation for interns? Are there any interns available at WUSA? Yes. So due to COVID, it's changed. The journalism industry, depending on where you are, has never really had a whole lot of money for disposal. And when COVID first happened, we did have interns and they had to let the interns go. Part of that was because of safety things, like they didn't want to be liable for interns catching coronavirus, and they're not providing interns health benefits and things like that. The other part of it was money. But I think things are getting better because there are positions that are being opened up. We don't currently have interns. We have a new program called Producers in Training, and we just got 2 new producers in training. And I think that newsrooms are definitely trying to figure out how they can include interns and have them work virtually online. So I know that it's kind of hard, especially like when you're thinking about graduating, like what your job aspects are going to be because of COVID and how things have changed. The one silver lining I will say is that, or the one piece of advice that I will say is that don't limit yourself to just your area, because now things are online. You can apply for things in New York, you can apply for things in LA, and you can start working remotely. And who knows, like majority of newsrooms I know, like there are no plans of going back into the newsroom this year at all. Like we're out. So, and we've been out since March. The only people that are in our newsroom right now are the anchors and a director. And that's been across the board with every other newsroom that I know about, like where all of my friends are. Even at newspaper organizations like the Post and the New York Times, they've already told them, we'll see you next year. So I would say take advantage of that, where now you're not tied to where you're living. You can work online almost everywhere. So expand your search for jobs and internships. And who knows, if you do a good job remote, like you might not have to ever go back in to the building. I mean, I'm praying I never have to go back into the building. But yeah, I think that a lot of newsrooms, mine included, they're taking a hard look on how to save money by keeping people at home and not coming in. So I think next year we'll definitely see what some of those shifts are in the and how people are going to be able to do their jobs.
Well,
those were the questions.
Jasmine, thank you so much. Can everybody pop on? I want to get a little group picture screenshot. You guys know I'm corny like that, so I like to do those kind of things. So if you guys could open up your camera so we can take a group picture in 5, 4, 3. Oh, wait, hold on. I always mess up the first one. 2. You guys know I do. All right, 1, 2, 3. Got it. All right. You guys, please thank our guest speaker for being with us this morning and sharing her journey and just advice and experience. And Jasmine, if they want to get in touch with you or connect with you, you can share that as well.
I'll put it in the chat.
All right, awesome.
It's my email, jasmine.chelsea@gmail.com. Chelsea@gmail.com. Yep, and then this is my social, JC Whittington.
Oh my God, this movie's so fast. Oh shoot.
Perfect.
Yes, that's on Twitter and on Instagram.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thanks guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep going. You guys are the future, and I'm excited for what you guys will be doing once you get your degrees. So yeah, keep in touch.
All right. Thank you, Jasmine. I'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Guys, I'm here if anyone has any questions about what you should be working on and turning in today. You should be good to go. Kara, why are you grabbing your head like that?
Well, I have everything together on my Canva finally, because I just went on and purchased it so I could use my own color palette.
Okay.
So Canva doesn't put it together. I have to use another platform to put it together.
Oh, what do you mean? Why?
I don't know. I'm not figuring out how to get it all on one thing.
Go to, so in Canva, you should be able to create an actual canvas, and I recommended you guys use Poster.
Poster. Okay, I did that, but I didn't know if that was right. Okay, fine.
Now, and then in Elements, go into Grid.
Poster.
Then Elements and Grid, and then the Grid will give you all these different options, collage options that you can pull your pictures into.
Okay, great. All right. All right.
So if you need any help with that, just let me know. But it should be Poster, and then in Elements, you can pick Grid, and then you just upload your images in there. You know how to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not, I don't know. I got it.
Okay. If not, Zoom me and we can walk through it, because I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't I add you in my Canva account? Didn't I add you to? Are you in there? Because there are templates.
I was on your Canva account, and then when I couldn't change my color palette, I just went on and got my own.
Gotcha. Okay. So
it's working perfectly. I got my color palette. I got all my pictures. I just couldn't figure out which one. I mean, I clicked on Poster and it didn't look right.
Blank.
So I said I would wait.
Blank one. Blank Poster.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyone else? Questions, concerns?
I did have a question.
Yes, Raven.
What am I about to say? So I use Canva to create my mood board,
Okay.
and it's called storyboard in Canva, right?
They actually have mood board templates in Canva. So you can just in the search type in mood board, and they're going to give you a whole bunch of options that you can use. Or you can use the Poster with the grid layout.
Because I know, okay, so what are the elements that need to go onto our mood board? It has to be our colors, our font, like the font, our logo, our personal brand statement. And then you said you wanted hex colors. Do you want it on the actual poster board or in like the submission section?
So if you selected your colors using that color wheel, you found them on there, then what it'll do, you can export it, and it just shows the color, and then it has your unique code for that individual color. It's easy to, if you don't have the actual code for the color, it'll be easy to kind of over time.
Because I have, like, I wrote the codes down.
Okay, yeah, then
I just don't know where. So put them on the actual mood board.
Yeah, like where the colors listed, just put it real tiny on there. Or if you don't want to put it on the board, just make sure when you submit it, I see that it's in there. Just so I know that you know your distinct, unique colors.
Can I email you mine like before submission, just so you can like give me some thoughts about it?
Sure. Yep. Do you have your 5 to 10 images?
Yep.
Curated?
But I can actually share my screen if you want to like see it right now, or you want me to email you.
That's fine. Sure. Whatever you want to do.
I hope.
So one last thing, I have an idea. Actually, I'm trying to make my logo in Word, just like pulling in shapes and making my logo.
Okay.
Because I went on Wix and they had the perfect logo, but they wanted $49. So that's out. You have, yeah. So I wrote down a lot of stuff, and I probably will find it when I go back. Do you have a recommendation where I can probably go and find a logo, or at least pictures that I would want on my logo that I can?
Do you have a drawing or a sketch I can see?
I got what I have right now, what I'm starting on.
Yeah, let me see. If you can let me see it, I can think about where you might be able to do that.
So can you see that?
Like we got a circle and then you need a key?
Yeah, I was trying to put my key in here,
Okay.
but then the white showed up and I don't want the white to show
Why
up.
can't we do this in Canva, Kara? Like this is so easy to do in Canva.
And then
Okay,
Canva,
you might have to walk me through that.
if you do it in Canva, Kara, you can make that transparent so you won't see all of that white that you want.
Yeah, so look,
Yeah.
y'all, this is new to me.
Okay. Do you want me to take her through it, Raven, or did you want to?
If you give me the steps, I'll write them down and I can follow them. I just need to know where to start.
Oh, I can open mine up because in Elements, so all your designs. So let me share my screen, Kira, because I'm like, I don't want you to. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, create design. I'm just gonna type in logo. And then I get a bunch over here that I can start with, but say you just want to do it on your own kind of freehand. See how they got shapes down here?
Okay. Okay, all right, I got it. And so then I just save it as whatever I want and then export it into my brand.
See that?
Oh man, I want that key, but I need that purple to be
Orange, and then you want the key white.
Black.
You want the key black. Okay, so that's how I did that. So
okay.
I'm like, if you
so if I have already have my colors picked out,
then you would just go here and then your palette would show up.
Perfect. Okay, got it. So everything is in Elements basically.
Elements. You can search any like thing that you want in Elements. If it's a key, if it's, and even Google Images. You could go on Google Images and just say key illustration transparent background, and it'll give you all these key options that don't have that white behind it. Lay over something else.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, don't be fooling around with Word. That'd be.
Yeah. I know I'll be here all day.
Yeah. Yes. So try to.
What's surprising is I'm so familiar with Word.
Gotcha. Well, at least it's a good starting point to sketch out your concept, and you were able to quickly tell me what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And I could quickly tell you how to do it in Canva. So
yeah, and I think that's the only thing that's all I'm waiting to do is to get my logo, that part.
Perfect. And then are you putting any text on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can, I think there are some apps, I don't know how you want your text to be, like under, over, on, but I don't know.
Okay.
However you want to do it. Email me if you need any more help.
Okay.
But,
I will. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Everybody have a good weekend. Good luck on your project.
You too. Professor Duckett, I have a question.
Kira, yes.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say I'm finished with my my personal board, but can I actually just email it to you so you can give me some feedback on it? Because I kind of feel like I'm missing something, but I don't know exactly what. And as far as the color palette, I kind of rushed through that, and like I wasn't really feeling the colors that I like came up with. So I kind of just changed my entire board to something totally different from the original color palette that I submitted on my discussion board.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you feel like everything is aligned though? Are the colors working with your personal brand statement, with the images and your attributes and everything, the mood, the tone?
Yes, I think it is, but I just want like your opinion. So can I just email it to you?
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jasmine?
Yeah, I have a question.
You're on mute. Oh, wait. Unmute? Okay, now I can, wait. Now you're, okay, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I actually felt like I was finished with my project, but I turned it in. But now that I'm looking at it, I low-key want to like add some extra stuff to it. Okay. So is it okay if I can like resubmit the assignment?
Absolutely. For more creativity, Why did I get to that?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't want to like lose points or anything.
Nah. Go ahead and do it up.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Elijah,
All right.
Are you there?
Okay, until he comes back. So like, do I just hit like share screen and then you can
Go
see?
for it. I think you have permissions to share. Yeah, allow share screen.
Alright.
Should be good.
Oh yeah, another thing. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Go
sorry.
ahead.
But I know we were talking. This is separate from the class, but this is PRSSA things, and I know we were talking about that drive that we were thinking about doing for the community service.
Yes.
And yeah, I was supposed to email you back, but I was
Okay,
caught
well,
up with.
let me talk to Raven really quick, and then you and I will jump on that in a second. Sound good?
Okay.
I'm gonna stop